Jaden Carter, Standing Up to Injustice, script for the Jones life stories imagine a place where the rules don't apply equally, where power is inherited, and justice is a privilege. Welcome to Rivertown High, a school riddled with injustice, where the strong prey on the weak, and the weak learn to survive in silence. But what happens when one of them decides to fight back? Not just with fists, but with courage, community, and the truth. This is the story of Jaden Carter, a boy who dared to challenge the untouchable. Before we dive into this powerful tale, welcome to the Jones Life Stories, where we share stories of triumph over adversity. If you love stories that inspire and motivate, hit the like button, share this video with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more incredible journeys. Turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Now, let's begin. The halls of Rivertown High buzzed with the energy of teenagers, but beneath the surface there was a tension that never went away. It was a place where old habits and older prejudices refused to die. At the top of the social hierarchy stood Troy Henshaw, the son of the town's police chief. Tall, muscular, with a smirk that never left his face, Troy wasn't just a bully, he was a predator, wielding his father's name like a shield. His friends, Gavin, Mark, and Tyler, were his enforcers, always ready to back him up when he decided to make someone's life hell. Jaden Carter, on the other hand, had spent his life trying to stay invisible. At 16, he knew better than to draw attention to himself. There weren't many black kids at Rivertown High, and those who were had learned to navigate the social minefield with precision. Jaden's mother, Maria, worked 2 jobs to keep a roof over their heads, and her advice was always the same. Keep your head down, baby. It's easier that way. But Jaden's grandfather, Elijah Carter, had a different philosophy. A former boxer with knuckles scarred from decades of fights, Elijah believed in standing up for yourself. A man can only be pushed so far before he's got to push back, he'd say, his voice heavy with the wisdom of a life spent in the ring. Jaden had never needed to use the skills Elijah taught him. Footwork, head movement, patience. Fighting was just something he kept in his back pocket, like math or reading. But staying invisible wasn't always an option, especially when his younger sister, Amara, became Troy's latest target. At 12, Amara was still learning the unspoken rules of survival, and that made her easy prey. The first time Troy messed with her, it was small, just cruel words in the hallway, a shove when no one was looking. Jaden told her to ignore it, to keep walking. They want a reaction, he said. Don't give it to them. But Troy didn't stop. It escalated from words to tripping her in the hallways, stealing her lunch, whispering threats. Amara tried to play it off, but Jaden saw the tension in her shoulders, the way she walked faster on the way home, the way she flinched when she saw Troy in the halls. One afternoon, it went too far. Jaden was walking home from school, his backpack slung over one shoulder, when he heard laughter echoing from an alley near the gas station. The kind of laughter that sent a chill down his spine. He picked up his pace, rounded the corner, and his blood ran cold. Amara stood there, her back pressed against a brick wall, her face pale but defiant. Troy loomed over her, smirking, one hand gripping her backpack, holding it just out of reach. His friends formed a loose circle, watching entertained. Come on, Amara, Troy drawled, tilting his head mockingly. I'll just say you're sorry for being such a little freak, and maybe I'll give it back. Amara clenched her jaw. Go to hell. Troy's smile widened. Wrong answer, he shoved her. Not hard, but enough to make her stumble, enough to make her feel powerless. Jaden moved before he thought. He was across the alley in seconds, grabbing Troy's wrist before he could reach for Amara again. The laughter stopped. The air changed. Jaden wasn't invisible anymore. Troy looked at him, amusement flickering in his eyes. Oh, look. Big Brother's here to play hero. He let her go, Jaden said, his voice calm but his grip tightening. Troy snorted, yenching his arm back. Relax, man. We're just having some fun. Jaden's gaze flicked to Amara. She was breathing fast but standing tall, her chin raised. That was enough. She didn't need to see him lose control. He took a step back, forcing himself to release the tension in his fists. It's over. We're leaving, Troy chuckled, stepping closer, invading Jaden's space. Or what? You're gonna hit me, Carter, Jaden said nothing. Troy grinned. Go ahead. Do it. Give me a reason. Jaden could feel the heat rising in his chest. his muscles coiling, every part of him screaming to swing, to wipe that smirk off Troy's face. But he knew the game. If he hit Troy, he wouldn't just be fighting one bully, he'd be fighting the entire system that protected him. So he turned away, grabbed Amara's hand, and pulled her toward the street. Behind him, Troy's smug, victorious laugh echoed. "That's what I thought," Troy sneered. "You're just like everyone else, too scared to do anything about it." Jaden didn't stop walking, but he knew this wasn't over. Troy thought Jaden was scared, that he'd always back down. He had no idea what was coming. That evening at the Carter family dinner table, the air was heavy. Maria looked exhausted from her double shift, her eyes warm but tired. Elijah sat at the head, his presence steady. Amara was quiet, poking at her mashed potatoes. Jaden couldn't shake the image of Troy's smirk, the way he'd shoved Amara, the way Jaden had walked away. The worst part wasn't that Troy had gotten away with it. It was that he thought Jaden was weak. That thought burned like hot coals. Elijah noticed. He always did. "You gonna tell me what happened?" he asked, his voice low, the kind that didn't demand answers but made it clear he knew something was wrong. Jaden hesitated, but Amara spoke first. "It was Troy," she muttered. Again, Elijah's expression didn't change, but something dark shifted in his eyes. He looked at Jaden. "You do anything about it?" Jaden tightened his grip on his fork. "No." Elijah let out a slow breath, leaning back. "Why?" Jaden's jaw ached from clenching it. "He wanted me to swing. If I hit him, I'd be the one in trouble, not him." Elijah nodded. "You're right. But being smart don't always feel good, does it?" Jaden shook his head, the fire in his chest still burning. Maria sighed, her voice firm. "You did the right thing, Jaden. Stay away from that boy. We can't afford trouble." Elijah's eyes met hers, a silent challenge. "Sometimes trouble finds you, Maria. And when it does, you gotta be ready." Jaden pushed back his chair and stood. "I'm going to the garage." The garage was a makeshift gym with punching bags, a speed bag, and an old wooden floor that had seen decades of training. Jaden shrugged off his hoodie, his body moving before his mind caught up. His fist slammed into the heavy bag over and over, his knuckles burning against the worn leather. He hit harder, faster, his breath coming in sharp bursts, the weight of everything pouring out with every strike. He imagined Troy's face, imagined wiping that smirk away. A hand caught the bag, stopping its swing. Jaden froze, chest heaving, sweat dripping down his face. Elijah stood there, arms crossed, eyes calm but unreadable. "You fight like you're already mad at yourself," he said. Jaden swallowed, staring at the floor. Elijah studied him. "Let me guess. You wanted to hit him, but you didn't. And now you're wondering if you made the wrong choice." Jaden's fists clenched, his shoulders tense. He was waiting for it. If I hit him, I'd be playing his game. Elijah nodded. "You're playing by their rules, waiting for them to be fair. But they won't. Bullies like Troy don't stop until they're made to stop. And when you do hit back, you better make damn sure it counts." Jaden swallowed hard, his heartbeat hammering. Elijah patted the punching bag. "You keep hitting. But when the time comes, don't just throw punches, win." The time came sooner than Jaden expected. 2 days later, after basketball practice, the parking lot was mostly empty, the sun casting long shadows across the pavement. Jaden's muscles ached, his mind caught between exhaustion and frustration. He thought Troy might back off after their last encounter, find some other kid to torment. He was wrong. Jaden heard Amara's voice first. Not a scream, but something close, sharp and angry. He turned the corner behind the school and felt his stomach drop. Troy had her again. She was on the ground, her backpack spilled beside her, books scattered across the pavement. Troy stood over her, laughing, while his friends watched, amused but wary. Jaden didn't think. He was across the lot in seconds, his heart pounding. He reached for Amara's arm, helping her up, making sure she was okay. Then Troy shoved him, hard, aggressive, meant to provoke. Jaden stumbled but caught himself. He met Troy's eyes, saw the challenge, the expectation. Come on, Carter," Troy sneered. "Do something." Jaden stayed still, steady, just like Elijah had taught him. "Don't react first. Let them think they have control." Troy smirked, then swung. The punch was sloppy, all anger and no technique. Jaden sidestepped at the last second, Troy's fist cutting through empty air, his momentum throwing him off balance. That was all Jaden needed. One hit, a sharp, controlled jab to the ribs, not reckless, just enough to send a message. Troy gasped, staggering back, his face twisting with shock. His friends weren't laughing anymore. Troy straightened, his face red, humiliated, furious. He swung again, but Jaden didn't just dodge. He stepped in, a quick, clean elbow catching Troy just below the shoulder, sending him off balance again. A firm shove sent Troy stumbling backward, arms flailing, barely catching himself before he hit the pavement. Silence. Troy's breaths were ragged, his fists trembling. Jaden didn't move, didn't say a word. He just stood there waiting. Troy hesitated. For the first time, he didn't know if he could win this fight. Jaden saw it in his face, the realization, the doubt. And then, just like that, Troy turned and walked away, his friends lingering for a second before hurrying after him. Jaden let out a slow breath. Amara stepped closer, clutching her backpack, her knuckles white around the straps. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded, her voice firm. "Are you?" Jaden exhaled, looking toward where Troy had disappeared. He knew this wasn't over, not yet. But for the first time, he wasn't afraid of what came next. The next morning, Jaden walked into Rivertown High expecting whispers. Word traveled fast, and this wasn't just a fight. It was him, the kid who was supposed to stay in his lane, knocking the golden boy off his pedestal. People didn't just whisper, they stared. Some looked impressed, a few nodded in silent approval, kids who had endured Troy's reign of terror. Others, mostly Troy's allies, watched with narrowed eyes, like Jaden had broken an unspoken rule. Troy was nowhere to be seen, but Jaden knew better than to think it was over. By second period, a voice crackled through the intercom. "A Jaden Carter. Report to the principal's office immediately." The moment he stepped into the office, he knew it was a setup. Principal Reynolds sat behind his desk, but he wasn't alone. Chief Henshaw loomed in the corner, arms crossed, his badge gleaming under the fluorescent lights. Jaden's jaw tightened. Reynolds cleared his throat. "Jaden, do you know why you're here?" Jaden glanced at Henshaw, then back at the principal. "No." Henshaw chuckled, shaking his head. "Don't play dumb, son. You put my boy in the dirt yesterday." Jaden didn't flinch. "Your boy put his hands on my sister first." First, Reynolds shifted uncomfortably, but Henshaw's expression didn't change. "I don't give a damn what you think happened," the chief said. Troy came home with a busted lip, talking about how some thug jumped him. "That's a problem." Jaden clenched his fists. He wanted to fight back, to say something, but Elijah's words echoed. "When you do hit back, make damn sure it counts." Henshaw smiled, slow and smug. "I had a chat with Reynolds here, and we agreed violence like this can't go unpunished." Jaden's stomach dropped. Reynolds wouldn't meet his eyes. "Ooh, suspending you, Jaden. Indefinitely. For defending myself." Jaden's hands tightened into fists. Henshaw scoffed. "Defending yourself? Kid, you're lucky I'm not pressing charges. My boy's got bruises. That's assault." Jaden knew what this was. It didn't matter what happened. This was about power, about making sure he knew his place. He forced himself to stay calm. "And what about Troy?" Reynolds shifted. "We'll be handling that internally." Jaden let out a sharp laugh. "Oh, right, which means nothing's going to happen to him." Henshaw's smirk widened. "And now you're getting it." Jaden wanted to argue, to fight, but what was the point? The decision was made before he walked in. Reynolds sighed, rubbing his temples. "Go home, Jaden. We'll let you know when you're allowed to return." Jaden turned and walked out without another word, but one thought was forming. They think they can silence me. They're wrong. That night, Jaden sat on the front porch, staring at the quiet street. The weight of the day pressed down on him, heavier than any punch. Elijah stepped outside, taking a slow sip of his coffee. "I take it the meeting didn't go well." Jaden let out a bitter laugh. "They suspended me. Troy, nothing." Elijah exhaled through his nose. "That's how it is in towns like this." Jaden shook his head. "So that's it? I just take the hit and move on?" Elijah studied him, setting his mug down. "No. But you got to be smart about what comes next." Jaden frowned. "What do you mean?" Elijah leaned forward, his voice quiet but firm. "You think you're the only kid Troy's done this to?" Jaden blinked. The thought hadn't fully sunk in, but now it was obvious. He wasn't the only one. He wasn't even the first. He thought about the kids who had nodded at him in the hallways, the ones who looked proud, like they'd been waiting for someone to stand up. Elijah's eyes gleamed. What happens when a bully loses a fight? Jaden exhaled. He tries to take back control. Elijah nodded. And what happens when everybody he ever pushed around decides they ain't scared of him anymore? Jaden understood. Troy might have the school and the police on his side, but Jaden had the truth, and he wasn't the only one. It was time to stop fighting alone. It was time to make them listen. Over the next 24 hours, Jaden thought about Elijah's words. What happens when everybody decides they ain't scared anymore? That question burrowed into his mind. He knew what he had to do. The first person he called was Eric Jennings, Troy's favourite target before Jaden. Eric had transferred schools after Troy broke his nose just for fun. When Eric picked up, his voice was wary. "A Carter," Eric said. "What do you want?" "I need your help," Jaden said, with Troy. A long pause, then softly, "I'm listening." By noon, Jaden had a list. Eric, Jordan Lopez, Maya Green, Charlie Sims, 4 kids who'd been on the receiving end of Troy's cruelty. By evening, the list doubled. By the next morning, Jaden had a movement. They met behind the old rec centre, away from school, away from anyone who could report back. Jaden stood in front of them, looking at the faces around him. Angry, nervous, but all done being afraid. "We all know what's going on," Jaden said, his voice steady. "Troy's been running this school like he owns it. He gets to do whatever he wants because his daddy cleans up his mess, and every time we let it slide, he wins. That ends now." Maya crossed her arms. "What are we supposed to do? He's already got you kicked out." Jaden met her eyes. "Yeah, and if we don't do something, I won't be the last." Eric nodded. "So what's the plan?" Jaden took a breath. "We go public, all of us. Every story, every fight, every threat. We take it out of their hands. We don't just make the school listen, we make the whole town listen." Maya exhaled, shaking her head. "You realise if we do this, Troy's not just going to let it go?" Jaden nodded. "I know." Charlie spoke up from the back. "What if people don't believe us?" Jaden pulled out his phone, his grip tightening. "They will, because we have proof." He tapped the screen and played the video. The footage was shaky, recorded from behind a half-open locker, but the audio was crystal clear. Troy's voice taunting, laughing, then the sound of Amara's backpack hitting the ground. "Come on, Carter, do something," Troy's voice said, followed by the shove, then Troy throwing the first punch. Silence followed. Jaden looked around, meeting their eyes. "We don't just have words, we have proof. And we're going to use it," Eric grinned. "A damn right we are." Maya cracked her knuckles. "Let's take this bastard down," Jaden exhaled. The fight wasn't over, it was just beginning. The air inside Rivertown High's gym was thick with tension. Students filled the bleachers, their voices hushed, waiting for something big. Teachers lined the walls, uneasy, their eyes darting between the crowd and the school board sitting stiffly behind a long table. In the centre, beside his father, Troy Henshaw looked smug, like he'd already won. Jaden stood near the entrance, his heart pounding, his fists clenched. He wasn't alone. Eric, Maya, Jordan, Charlie, every student who'd been on the receiving end of Troy's fists, his threats, his unchecked power, stood beside him, unshakable. The school had called this meeting as a discussion on student safety, but everyone knew the truth. It was about Jaden, about Troy, about who would control the story. Principal Reynolds cleared his throat, shifting uncomfortably. "We're here to address recent altercations at Rivertown High. Our goal is to ensure a safe environment for all." Chief Henshaw leaned forward, cutting him off with a rehearsed sigh. "And let's not waste time. My son was attacked in broad daylight, jumped, humiliated, and my family's been harassed ever since. We raised Troy to be a good young man, and now, because of lies and rumours, his reputation is being dragged through the mud." Jaden let out a slow breath, forcing himself to stay calm. Henshaw's gaze landed on him, sharp and accusing. "We have to ask ourselves what kind of precedent we're setting. Are we going to allow violence to go unpunished? Because I guarantee you, if something isn't done, this won't be the last time a good kid gets hurt." He spread his hands, the picture of fake patience. "I'm a reasonable man. All I ask is that this board do the right thing. Expel Jaden Carter immediately." The words hit the room like a slap. Maya shot up from the bleachers. "You want to talk about violence?" Her voice rang out, cutting through the silence. Where was this energy when Troy broke Eric Jennings' nose last year? Where was this concern when Jordan Lopez had to transfer schools because of him? The crowd stirred. Charlie stepped forward. Or when Troy cornered me behind the locker room. When he pushed Maya down the stairs. When he made my life a living hell for months. Troy's smirk wavered. Chief Henshaw's eyes darkened. This is nonsense. These are baseless. If they're not, Jaden said, stepping forward, his voice steady, cutting through the chaos. He pulled out his phone, tapped the screen, and played the video. The gym went silent. The footage was shaky, but Troy's voice was clear, arrogant, taunting. Come on, Carter, do something. Then the shove. Then Troy's fist swinging first. Then Jaden fighting back. The video ended. For a second, nothing happened. Then chaos. Parents whispered. Students murmured. Teachers exchanged glances. The room shifted. Troy shot to his feet, his chair screeching. But that doesn't prove her. His voice was high, panicked, cracking. He still hit me. Jaden turned to him, calm, unreadable. Yeah, after you hit me first. Troy's face turned red. He looked at father, waiting for him to fix this, but Chief Henshaw wasn't looking at Troy. He was staring at the school board, at the reporters taking notes, at the parents watching with suspicion. He was losing control and he knew it. This is ridiculous, Henshaw snapped, his voice not as confident. That video doesn't show the whole story. You're going to take the word of a bunch of kids over an officer's son? Mrs. Delgado, the math teacher, stood up. We're taking the word of evidence. Her history teacher nodded. The video doesn't lie. Troy's breath hitched. Henshaw slammed a fist on the table. Enough, he turned to Reynolds. Do your damn job and expel this kid. Reynolds straightened, his voice steady for the first time. Troy Henshaw is hereby suspended indefinitely, pending further investigation. The gym exploded. Troy shoved away from the table, his face twisted in fury. You can't do that. Chief Henshaw whirled on Reynolds. This is a goddamn joke. Reynolds met his gaze. No, this is accountability. Troy's fist clenched, his eyes burning into Jaden. You think this is over? Jaden didn't flinch. It is for you. Troy opened his mouth, but he saw it then. The shift. The shift. The crowd, the teachers, the school board, even his own friends. They weren't with him anymore. For the first time, Troy Henshaw was alone. His father grabbed his arm, yanking him away, shoving through the crowd. As they left, Troy didn't look victorious. He looked small, powerless. The room erupted again. Students talking, laughing, cheering. Eric clapped Jaden's back. You did it, man. Jaden exhaled, the weight in his chest lifting. He turned and found Elijah watching him. His grandfather said nothing, just nodded. Jaden nodded back. He didn't just throw punches, he won. This is the power of standing together, of finding your voice, of refusing to be silenced. At the Jones Life Stories, we believe in the strength of community and the courage to fight for what's right. If Jaden's story inspired you, hit that like button, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to our channel for more stories of triumph. Drop a comment below. Have you ever stood up to a bully or faced injustice? We'd love to hear your story. Turn on the notification bell to start your day with profound lessons and heartfelt empathy. Together, we're stronger. Let's keep the conversation going.